What's up, gang? Carlton Flowers here, your crypto pro.
Yay!
And of course, we have some amazing action that we need to talk about with Bitcoin today. So we're going to break down the 4-hour chart and look at the one-day chart and try to make sense of what we see that is going on. Now, let's get rid of my handsome face. There we go. And here we are on the Bitcoin this is the 1-hour chart. We'll start with the one and just look at it. So right off the bat, as you can see, we have this massive two-tier correction that has plopped us back down within the support and resistance zone that we have not been in since the breakout that occurred on September 1st when we rose above it. And all of the bulls, the very overly positive thinking people, were saying that it was just blue skies from here. We're going to shoot to 70,000 plus. We had all the loudmouths stating that September is going to break 100,000. Lots of people commentating on YouTube stating that September would be a complete green month. Well, it didn't take us too long. It did take until September 7th for that reality to be completely crushed as we see this dip here. Now, currently sitting at the price of 46,731, and the 1 hour, it looks like we have a crossover that is about to occur, which means that it's going to go deeper within this zone. Now, let's look at the 4-hour and see what it looks like. This is very bearish also. We see that the MACD has taken a complete dive down. This is significant. The level that the histogram has taken a nosedive here, which is due to this great big fat double red candle here, and we are smack dab in the center of this zone. Now, the biggest volume node on the VPVR, which gives the volume at every particular price range, the largest one is at 47,062. We are below that, and we're sitting on the 200 exponential moving average line, this blue line right here. Now, we could bounce there, but right now the stochastic is pointed downwards. We have downward momentum, and we have a little bitty doji red candle here, so we don't know if we're going to bounce up from this. Based on the current momentum, I would say we're not going to snap back up to this node at 47. It looks like the momentum is still downward. So that's very interesting to me. Now let's squash this down so we can get a better picture of what we're looking at and where we could be heading. Now this wick on the 4-hour, it snapped all the way down to 42.8. Now the 42,000 level was supposed to be the absolute not go below point. We were supposed to bounce off that and jump up, which it did. But that doesn't mean that we don't go down and retest that again, because the current momentum is downward. We have this huge red volume bar here, followed by another significant one that tells us we're still in a downward momentum. Previously, we had talked about how the stochastic stayed buried up here in the higher than 80 point, the cutoff between the regular area and being overbought. And I had talked about in the previous videos that this period of time that we spent here was so long that we had to come out of this and correct at some point. Now, when we started side banding here, as the stochastic dipped all the way down, 1, 2, 3 times, and price was staying here, I thought, well, maybe we will bounce out of this and continue upwards, which we did. So we had these two peaks that occurred here and here, but now look at the size of the dip when the stochastic moved here just to the center. We were at the bottom and we were maintaining here. So these bottom stochastic dips returned a price that was keeping a nice little level base within the zone. And that's why we popped out above. But after we had this very generous drop, we're not even at the bottom of this stochastic cycle on the 4-hour. When we get to the bottom, if it doesn't snap back up, because it could, if we make it to the bottom of the stochastic and drop below the 20 line, which is the borderline between this normal area and the oversold area, oh boy, we could come back down and test this next support resistance zone that we have been talking about for a long time at 42. Now, looking at the 200 EMA on the 4-hour, we're sitting on it. The wick went below it, so we could drop below it again. Now, the only thing that could save this here is the biggest volume node sitting at 47. We're trading below that, and then we have this slip zone here. I call this the slip zone. If we continue to fall down into this area with downward momentum, we could blow straight through this support resistance and head towards the next volume node, which is the point of control price at 39,669. That's a possibility, but we're going to have to look at the 1 day in order to figure out what the possibilities are with natural trading action. And we know that there's really no such thing as natural trading action because the big institutions are placing their bets based on the behavior of you and I, which we are retail investors. They tend to do the opposite because it is the job of the institutional investors with their hedge funds to bring their people maximum profits. They can only bring those maximum profits by betting against the masses and fooling us, drawing us into these runs and then dropping the bottom out, driving the price down so that they can buy once we hit a lower area. Now, let's just look at this. On the 1 day, we have a crossover right there. The stochastic is crossed over where the fast line is plunged below the slow line. The blue is the fast, the reddish orange is the slow line, which tells us that the momentum is still downward and we are in kind of the borderline area. Here's the price right here at the thick of this node, and we're teetering on the slip zone. Actually, we're below this node here, so we're already moving into the slip zone, which could bring us to the thick of this area in this great big volume node on the VPVR. So this is popular trading activity where there's a lot of institutional trades that are going on, and they could be wanting to move price down here to load up one more time before we resume the upward activity. Now, let's clear this out and let's crunch this down even further and look at the overall. So we have this downward trending parallel trading channel that we broke above. And so when we broke above this, I thought, okay, it is possible that we could continue on upward from this point because we had several candle closes above the trending channel. And that was a possibility where we were talking about possibly pumping all the way to 58. But a lot of people were thinking that 52 could be a possible top before the return of the bearish movement within this trading channel. So we do not have confirmation that we have broken out of this downward trending trading channel right now. All we have to go by is the fact that we're back here within the channel with downward direction. So what are the possibilities from this point? Well, first of all, it's possible that we could jump back down to retest this support resistance area right here. We could also jump back down to the next one, which is in the thick of this volume node right here. That's very possible. Of less possibility or probability would be jumping right back out and moving back up again. Why? Because we have a current momentum that is heading downward, coupled with the fact that September has traditionally been a red month for Bitcoin. A lot of people were saying that the price movement of Bitcoin this summer has defied all logic and tradition of what we normally see. We have been bullish during the summer months here that were traditionally bearish. So when we look at the time period from July all the way up until the current point, traditionally we have side banded or moved down during that area, and we did the opposite. And that's why people were saying that September is going to break tradition and it's also going to be a bearish month. Well, when everybody starts to think that we're all saying that we're going to be bearish and moving up, that's when the institutions have the opportunity to liquidate shorts or liquidate longs, which is what happened here. There's a massive amount here that was liquidated with this drop. The exchanges made a ton of money from liquidating the people that had the long positions on leverage trading, which is why I never leverage trade and I never will, because it's just a perfect setup, because the exchanges can see the bets that are made. So if we have a ton of bets that are long right here, it presents an opportunity for the exchanges to reverse this and liquidate those longs and make a ton of profit, which they did. So we're back into this downward movement, and all we have to go by right now is this bearish trending movement and the fact that we could get a stochastic cycle down. So we stayed up here for a while, then we touched up here at the top, and now we have the possibility that we could return all the way down here. Maybe we don't. But how long do we stay up here? How long can we depend on this stochastic to just stay bouncing in this area without returning down before we get the major movement up? That's a dangerous thing to play around with. And so when we look in the past here, when we stayed up at the top here in this zone, we had a major correction, not major, but we had this downward movement here. Then we stayed up at the top for this massive run and we had a correction there. And then we popped up and down, where as always, I always look to see what prices returned for the stochastic peaks and the dips. So when we hit these dips right here, we just look upstairs and see what happened. So there's a low point. Then on the next dip, it was a higher low. Then on the next dip, it was kind of a lower low. On the next major dip, it was a lower low. And then on the next dip, it was on the next major dip into oversold. It was absolutely a lower low. Now we haven't jumped down here since then. So we have to take into account the possibility of a full stochastic cycle back down before this thing runs back up again. Now, for the people that say we're in a bull market still, or we're in a bear market now, and we've finished the blow off top and that's it, this is it for the next, the completion of this cycle. I don't agree with that. We don't have enough evidence to prove that this entire cycle is finished. And we also know that throughout history, Bitcoin has increased the length of the bull market cycles. So if we were to say that this is the end, that this was the blow off top right here, and this was the primary rebound to the blow off top for the sucker rally, and then now we're going to drop down into the abyss and stay down here for a long period of time until the next bull market, that would say that we would have to call this the shortest cycle, a shortening cycle. And I don't believe that. All right. I tend to believe that we are still within the overall bull market cycle because, say, from this point on, we're still in an overall upward trend. All right. Even if we jump down and have a major correction, if we correct, say, just to down here at 42, we could continue up from that point. Or let's say if we went all the way down to the bottom of this trading channel. Well, guess what? We're still in an upward overall trend, because when we move on from here, we could pop up like that and hit an all-time high and complete the whole cycle, which is kind of where I'm placing my bet. And that's not financial advice, because we can't say for sure that we know what Bitcoin is going to do. And so my word of warning to everyone, especially new people, is that you should never, ever, ever look for the answers of what Bitcoin is going to do based on YouTube people. They don't know what's going to happen. They make bets, and as much as people like to think that they have the answers, they don't. There are some people that are out there reporting that we're absolutely going to dip down to the bottom. And I think it is certainly possible that we could revisit this area before we resume the bullish movement, the bullish cycle, and finish this whole cycle out. But they don't know that for sure. They don't know that any more than the people that said that we were going to bounce out of this peak and continue upward. So we have to look at what the chart is telling us and be able to move our thinking. We have to be able to adjust and play this market with what is presented before us. So right now, when we look at the MACD cycle right here, look at this. We had this major movement from here all the way up, and it looks like we had a peak here. And now the momentum on the MACD oscillators is headed downward. We do have a little crossover right here where the fast line has now dipped below the slow line. And while we thought that this histogram, which went into the negative, was about to jump up to the positive, look at this bar here on the histogram. It just went from 0 straight down. It's not always, it's not a guarantee that you have these nice smooth movements where it goes up and then it dips down, then up, down. This is nice. See, this is nice and easy, smooth movements. And then we get up to this point, up, down, and then it stayed down. It started to trend up, and then we went straight down there. So this could continue and have a double dip downward before we complete this bearish movement. So that's all we have to go by right now. Now let's clear this out and say zoom in on the 1 day a little bit and give you my closing thoughts. Based on what we see here, I can expect that this correction will continue as long as this stochastic continues to cycle downwards. That's all we have to go by. And then we'll wait and see if we get some fantastic buying opportunities if we head back down to the point of control and get into the thick of this volume node. But like I said, I don't have the answers. I don't have a crystal ball, and I can't say for sure that this will play out, but it's the bet that I'm going to place. So I'm going to wait for this to play out and then look to see when I will start accumulating alts, and my game plan continues. I don't change my plan. My plan was that if we revisit this area here, which now we're in, I start to accumulate. I've been buying some alts. If we dip down to the next one, I'll continue to accumulate. If we dip down to the next one, I will continue to accumulate. And I think that we probably won't dip below here. We got the people talking about, oh, we're going to 20,000, or then you got the folks saying 10,000. That's the least probability in my opinion. I think we'll bounce out of that. 42 is all I have to play with right now to bet on. And then we'll just look and see what happens after that point. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your comments of what you think that we will see, if this will play out as a continuance of a bearish movement for the month of September. And do you think September will be traditional as a red month, or do you think this is just a temporary shakeout where we'll get a dead cat bounce and continue upward? Post it in the comments, share your thoughts. That's all I've got for now. This is Carlton Flowers, and I am out.